It was a heck of a football season for our guys on defense. Really excited. When you lose as many guys, as many great players we did the year before and finish 10-2, it's a super season. I mean, anytime you win 10 football games in a year, it's a great season. So, we're excited to be playing in the Cotton Bowl and playing against a great Baylor football team. Watched a ton of football games on those guys the last few days here, really last week and a half, even while we're on the road recruiting, in an airplane, throw your iPad open and watch them tape. And they're explosive. Every run is a pass, and every pass is a run is really the best way to describe really what they do. Everybody thinks they got this big-time passing game, which they do. But if you don't stop the run, you've got no chance. And this is about as evident as anybody. I mean, they rush for 200 yards a game and then throw for 400. But we've got to stop the run. They're very good. They're well coached. The receivers know what they're doing out there as far as reading routes and reading what a DB is doing to them. So, they're a good football team, obviously. And we got a great chance to go out and right the ship and beat a top 5 team in the country. And I think that's what our guys are practicing for right now.
Questions? Yeah, Pat, expanding on that on their offense, what do they do that's different? Mark D'Antonio said earlier they're really cutting edge. I know they split the receivers wide, but what about their offense is different from a lot of these other high-tempo spreads? You know what,
there's first of all, it's going to be the fastest, and someone said they're the second fastest. Someone said on a TV copy they said they're the second fastest offense in the country. And Monte Nicholson came up to me yesterday in the middle of practice. He says, "Coach, who's number one?" I'm going, "Number one what?" And he was trying to find out, who's if this is this fast, who's number one. But we got him snapping the ball somewhere between 14. Really, I shouldn't say that. Anywhere between 10 and 17 seconds on normal downs. And Oregon was not that fast. Oregon was in the 22s. They've slowed it down quite a bit, I think, since Chip took over. I didn't want to say that when we were playing them because I thought maybe they'd speed it up, so I didn't say anything. I think I lied to you guys that day. But I didn't want them to think we thought it was slower. But, they I think, slowed down a little bit since Chip. But this is the fastest team that we've seen. And probably compared to an Indiana 2 years ago when we played and we got surprised in that first half, we didn't practice this fast. So we are practicing at a warp speed right now and even an individual doing drills. So that our kids will be conditioned for it, and that's what I think makes it. There's no different plays that you're really seeing that they run, Joe. I mean, there's no different plays. It's really the same plays we'll see. Some different receiver splits, but we've seen that people do that to us anyway. So that's been something people have tried to, I guess, use against us. But really, they're the same plays you see, but at a fast tempo. And you look at some defenses; they look terrible out there because they're exhausted. So you talk about rotation. At times, you guys have asked me, when's it time to get those D linemen in there? This is the time to get, guys subbed in, after 3 or 4 plays just to keep them fresh because we're better fresh than we are keeping your best player out there and him, suck and win.
How much extra time is put and spent during bowl practices simply on conditioning? Because your guys know how to play that kind of offense, but just the conditioning aspect, Pat. Well,
it's the conditioning, and so it's not just, hey, let's run some sprints today after practice. We really don't do that. We really don't Hondo run sprints after practice. What we do is practice at a high tempo. I mean, we're having our guys, our offense, our scout offense is trying to learn the plays and try to pick it up quickly off of cards. And yesterday we snapped a bunch of balls between 12 and 16, 17 seconds, unless someone's helmet got broke. Someone's helmet got broke yesterday. I said, "You guys are slowing us down. We can't have broken helmets." But so we were, we're conditioning throughout the practice, and yesterday was probably one of the most taxing practices our kids have had. It was long, and it was play after play. I think we had 160 reps yesterday on defense. That's not counting individual.
Yeah, when you look back to that second week against Oregon, how is your defense better or more prepared to face, one of these high-powered, high-paced offense than, say, they were 2 weeks into the season?
Well, I think experience is the best teacher, obviously. And your kids come out of that game and you say, gosh, we played a good first half, and we had 8 3-and-outs in that game. So I think our guys are better educated on, what you need to do. And, again, the only way you figure that out. But we had 8 3-and-outs, and they had 13 yards rushing to half, and our guys are going, gosh, if we can put 2 halves together like that, maybe we got to be in better shape. So I think they'll look at that game and go, what could we have done to beat them? Maybe it was fatigue in the second half. I mean, it's hard to point your finger at what it was. Was it their execution and our lack of execution? But certainly you got to put into it and think that it was conditioning at some point, and our guys got to understand that once those tempos get going, that's when they got a chance on offense to succeed, and when we got a chance to lose on defense. But we had 8 3-and-outs in that game. The first series of the second half, we go 3-and-out. Second series, we do pretty well on first down. We do pretty well on second down. It's third down and 13, and we do pretty good all the way up until not tackling that Heisman Trophy candidate, I'm glad to say. And then the same thing happened on the next series. So I told our guys yesterday, if we get 10 3-and-outs, we should win the game, because if we get 10 against Oregon, we probably win that game too, because the momentum's changing. But, they get a first down, all of a sudden they get their tempo rolling, and that's when they do well. But 3-and-outs are going to be critical.
Coach, this defense has been, even though it's ranked in the top 10 overall, it's been beat up a little bit compared to the Rose Bowl defense. Is it, looking at your schedule, looking at Ohio State with J.T. Barrett, the way he threw the ball, looking at playing Marcus Mariota, now Baylor, how much of it is statistical, how much of it is the schedule that this defense has played, maybe compared to the schedule the Rose Bowl defense played?
I think it's a little bit of I don't look at the stats like that, but I just know we got a pretty good defense. It was not as good as it was a year ago, but probably not as bad as you guys think. So there were some little things that freshmen are going to make mistakes here. I go back to games when I say this defense was not as good as it was last year. When I go back to Indiana and I watch some of the junk plays that they got on us, and not to point out Indiana, but there's some of those plays that you go, come on. And it wasn't what they did, it was what we did. And there were some of those plays throughout the year. I forget who ran an outside zone on us at one point during the year. It was at Purdue. Purdue hit one late on us and gun wide trips and ran inside zone, and we don't fit it right. But it was that was elementary. So it wasn't really what they did, it was what we did. And that's why a year ago our guys didn't make those little mistakes. They didn't fall asleep on a play. Our guys every once in a while fell asleep on a play, but that doesn't make them a bad defense. I think they finished pretty high in the country, and a lot of people would take it, I think.
Based on what you learned out at Oregon, have you changed significantly the way you're preparing for a fast offense? Not really. I mean, there's little things here and there that we've done to change it, but it is, you can only go so hard. Like, we felt like we really beat the heck out of our kids yesterday, and you kind of feel bad as a coach when you walk out the field like, God, I don't know if I want my kids being, worn into the ground like that. But they understand. They're like, Coach, bring more, But then I watch the tape, and I'm like, you wanted more, and you look like that. So we just got to get the tempo going faster, and we got to play at a high rate whenever we're out there, and we got to get off the field if we can't. But that's what it comes down to. But, structurally, I think, we'll pretty much be the same. We'll have some little tweaks for them that we've got in already. You said Baylor, every run is a pass and every pass is a run. Can you explain a little more what you meant by that?
Well, I mean, it's all whether you want to call it screens, but every time they ride that tailback, I mean, they're throwing a short route, so he's got options. I mean, and again, some people do that, but they do it more than anybody in the country, I think. They're going to run quick now routes, bubble routes, jet, quick out routes. I mean, they got, pop routes. I mean, everything is built in. I mean, I would say of their pass game, probably 50% of their pass game is all built off the run. It's all play action pass. So there's going to be run pass conflicts for people, and which we're used to. But it's all a pass off a run, and that's, I think, what's special that they do. And you look at it and go, wow. And then they tempo you with, as simple as that is. They tempo with you, get you tired, and then gash you. But you will put on a run tape of them. It's 8, 9, 10 yards a run. Period. I mean, it's like, you got to be kidding me. But they gas people. People are gassed. You see people out there throwing flippers, just poor tackling. They do a great job.
Pat, I wonder if you can say anything about your future, if you've been contacted by any other schools, and if that's something that you address with your players.
Say that one more time?
If you can say anything about your future, if you've been contacted by any other schools, and if talk with your players about that at all. Or?
Yeah. No, really, don't talk to anybody about it, really. But we're focused obviously on the Cotton Bowl and Baylor and our preparation for them. But things like that are going to happen at times, and you'll have opportunities just with the success we've had here at Michigan State with the multiple 10, 11, 12, 13 win seasons. You're going to have opportunities, and that's because of Michigan State, and we'll deal with things like that when it's time to. But really, the tempo of that offense is pretty darn good, so we got to worry about that.
I'm going to follow up on that, Pat.
I figured you were, Joe. Someone had to break the ice. You let the rookie break the ice, huh?
Have you done things differently? This comes up every year. Do you approach this time of year differently because of that? You know opportunities are probably going to come up. You're preparing for a big ball game.
Not really. Just do it the same way. And you know, the most important thing right now is our kids and winning this football game, really. Those other things will come.
Let's get back to that tempo a little bit.
That's right.
Well,
That's
actually,
what I'm talking about.
kind of a different approach on that. How have you seen the younger guys on offense respond to running that tempo? Because I know you guys use them quite extensively to go quicker.
Yeah, they've done a great job. And I think they'll be worn out today. I had to cut some breaks just to give the offense because, you know, we're going ones and we'll sub our guys in, but that's poor scout team. You know, they don't get any breaks. I mean, there's nobody to sub them out. I mean, there's about, you know, one lineman to sub out of the five and you know, maybe two tailbacks and receivers. So, you know, they've done a great job. They did a great job yesterday. And we just got to keep them fresh and keep them healthy so we can get a good look. But they've gotten better at it. I mean, they understand how critical it is, and they, you know, they're going to learn from games as well. So they've done a good job for us.
Kind of following it up, I mean, I talked to, I think it was Matt Brown, said that when they started doing that in their scout team, in the future they realized, hey, they're pretty good at this. Is that something you could see with this offense moving down the line?
Hey, I'm just coaching defense. I don't know. Jeez, I don't know. That's way too early to say. They ain't that good, I guess.
Got time for two more, Justin.
Pat, a lot of these kids that you're coaching now don't remember what it was like the last time Michigan State played a team that was left out of a potential national championship bid, Alabama in 2011. Can you use experience from that? I know your program is much different than it was in 2011, but can you use that experience to help make sure these kids remain solely focused on going out and...
Yeah, I'm worried about that tempo. That's something you can ask Coach D'Antonio, but you know, our guys will be ready. I mean, that's one thing Coach D'Antonio's done here in 8 seasons is you know, we're going to be ready for every football game, and I don't think there's any letdown. And if you think there's a letdown, it probably wasn't. Our kids play their tail off every week, and Coach D'Antonio does a great job of motivating our football team and our coaches to give it everything you got every week, and that's one of the best things we do. You're not going to see a letdown. You remember I remember when we first got here, the same old Spartans. I mean, I haven't heard that in years. And that's a good thing. So.
Time for one more, guys. I just got off easy, Pat. Joe, use the mic. Okay. I'm paying for it.
Specifically on Petty, what kind of who would you compare him to? And does he pre-snap? Is he more involved than other quarterbacks in terms of more freedom to make his own decision?
You know, as far as Petty, you know, he's obviously more involved with all those run passes. I mean, I think he can pre-snap. I think he's looking to see if he's got a look he wants, and I don't think he's riding and decide. And you'll see there's a lot of times where the O-line doesn't know, but he knows what he's doing, and he may not ride the tailback, but he's throwing it where he wants to. So he's got a lot of freedom to do what he wants. And he's a great player. He's got a quick release as a quarterback. You know, he doesn't really step in his throws, but he doesn't need to. I mean, he's throwing balls, and he puts it on the money. I mean, put that Kansas State game in. I don't think he threw an incomplete pass the entire game, which is, you know, incredible. He's a great quarterback and one of the top ones in the country, really, when you look at what they do there and how they've done it. I mean, they score a bunch of points, so good player.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, guys. Happy holidays.